The Birmingham Civil Rights Institute is charged with the idea of taking the lessons from the past and transferring them to our future.
As stewards of history in the Birmingham movement, the BCRI houses incredible collections that show and document where the community has come from and how the Birmingham movement both came to be and was so successful.
Civil rights and equality challenged today just as they were many decades ago. We are here to enlighten each generation about civil and human rights by exploring our common past, working together in the present to build a better future.
The peaceful protest. They created what we're doing today. They created everything that their model of protest and activism is what we young people look at in order for ours to be successful.
Through many educational offerings, we teach the idea that the changes in Birmingham, Alabama were not just because of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King and Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth and Reverend Ralph Abernathy. A lot of these changes took place because of the youth in this city. We have BCAP, which is the Birmingham Cultural Alliance Project, where we visit middle school students and we take them through this history and through this narrative so that they can prepare to understand their role in society. Through our Legacy Youth Leadership Program, we bring high school students from all over the Jefferson County area here to study this narrative and to serve as docents and ambassadors to the Civil Rights Institute.
Hello, my name is Megan Millsap. Hi, my name is Mackenzie Millsap, and we are part of the Legacy Leadership Program at the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute.
For researchers and local students, from middle, high, and university students, they're able to come in and see where we've been so that they can go and be better stewards of Birmingham and our present and then our future.
Knowing that Birmingham has so much to be and part of the civil rights movement is going to be very important.
So welcome home, everybody. Happy Jubilee Day. Happy Jubilee Day.
Over the last 29 years, BCRI has been an international leader in the space of civil and human rights. 2020 has brought us a multitude of challenges, but also in that same breath, so many opportunities. The ways in which we've been able to implement technology, but also be innovative, has allowed us to be able to get to this point to where we are today.
It has me excited and it has me ready to see what's next and do something tomorrow. I'm ready. I'm ready for what's next.
My name is Colin Thompson. I'm part of the Legacy Youth Leadership Program at the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute. I would like to stop here to make note of a few things on this timeline. When you look at this timeline, the top is national events and the bottom is Alabama events. For this, I'm going to focus on the top, and each color of the tiles actually means something. When you look at the white tiles, you see the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Now, this act is what overturned segregation. It was actually Martin Luther King Jr.'s pride and joy, and the reason he won the Nobel Peace Prize. Now let's move on to the gray tiles. The gray tiles are political events, such as the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which is signed by Lyndon B. Johnson. Now, this is what overturned poll taxes and literacy tests and other barriers to African Americans being able to vote. Now we're going to move on to the black tiles. The black tiles means that someone lost their life. This very black tile represents the Watts riots, which was in August of 1965. Now, during this riots, violence ensued across the country. Now, these riots are what inspired Dr. Bulana Karenga to create an event that really embodied Black culture. This holiday was meant for Black people to be able to express themselves, and it was called Kwanzaa. Habaragani.
Nia! There are 7 principles of Kwanzaa. The first one is Umoja. Umoja means unity. In accordance with the Birmingham Civil Rights Movement, it exemplifies in 1963 of the Children's Crusade. The Children's Crusade is a series of protests that young people participated in. I want to highlight a particular event, D-Day, Demonstration Day. On D-Day, children from all over the Birmingham area came together and was unified, and they marched and they protested for rights. But on this day, they were met with violence by Bull Connor. Bull Connor was a known antagonist of the Civil Rights Movement. He ordered fire hoses on them and dogs. And on this day, many children were arrested and injured. But despite all of these obstacles, they continued to gather together and protest and fight for equality. And this is why they embodied Umoja.
Kwanzaa is Kujishakalia, which represents self-determination. In my opinion, self-determination is being who you are unapologetically without taking advantage of others. Take, for example, my shirt. Why be racist, sexist, homophobic, or transphobic when you can just be quiet? Why take who you are and impose it on someone else when they're just trying to be themselves as well? In the Civil Rights Movement, each civil rights leader was unapologetically themselves, and they fought for what they believed in tooth and nail. And that's why they truly embody Kujishakalia.
Ujima is the third principle. Ujima is collective work and responsibility. Groups such as SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, people like Diane Nash would host workshops for young people to remain nonviolent during sit-ins. Another group is CORE, which is the Congress of Racial Equality, and they produced the Freedom Riders, which was a group that would travel the country fighting the busing system. Organizations like these all would come together in the fight for equal rights. They really embodied Ujima.
The fourth principle is Ujama, which is cooperative economics. This principle prioritizes building and maintaining stores and just Black enterprise in general. We all understand that money is power, and where you spend your money is vital. Also, where you don't spend your money is vital. So during March of 1962, the Anti-Justice Committee came together with Black colleges and the Black community to create this campaign called the Selective Buying Campaign, where they decided that they were not going to spend their money at specific stores that promoted segregation. With this being said, and them choosing where they wanted to spend their money, and instead putting it into their own community, sales that year for all the stores that had segregation went down 11%. This is an embodiment of Ujama, where the community all came together with their money and took hold of what they thought was right.
Kwanzaa is Nia, which means purpose. After the state of Alabama outlawed the NAACP, which stands for the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth said this quote that I think embodies Nia. He said, "You can outlaw an organization, but you cannot outlaw an
movement of a people determined to be free. The purpose of the civil rights movement was freedom and equality for all people. This purpose still has not been fulfilled to this day, but the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute stands for this purpose and fights along with it.
Kwanzaa is Kuumba for creativity. Much like the creativity of Reverend Fred Shuttleworth, he founded the Alabama Christian Movement for Human Rights in 1956 here in Birmingham. This group fought for laws, organized boycotts, and also worked closely with Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., which I think truly embodies the 6th day of Kwanzaa, Kuumba for creativity.
In 1956, after the NAACP was outlawed, Reverend Fred Shuttleworth created the Alabama Christian Movement for Human Rights. This is where 60 churches came together to fight for the movement. 3 leaders that can be highlighted from these 60 churches are Reverend Fred Shuttleworth, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and Reverend Ralph Evans. These 3 men were known as the Big Three, and they embodied faith throughout the movement. We are all members of the Legacy Youth Leadership Program here at the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute. We engage in weeks of training, learning the galleries here at the Institute. So after we learn the galleries, we go on to give tours of them to the public. We also meet prominent leaders of the movement, and we host events that happen here at the Institute. In order to become a member, you should visit bcri.org and apply today.